welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and joining me as always to break down another great NFL draft prospect. This one we're going to be talking about is Braden Fiske, defensive tackle coming out of Florida State. To help me, as always, former NFL draft scout and the main guy over there at FirstRoundMock.com, Mr. Daniel Kelly. How you doing this afternoon, sir?
Hey, I'm doing really well, Mr. Landers. Just getting more and more excited for the NFL draft here. That's almost here. It snuck up on us.
It really has, and time has been flying by. It feels like it was just yesterday. We were in January talking about these players, and here we are, just a couple of weeks away before a lot of guys get their name called and get to change a lot of lives. And it's going to be a fun time, and I'm looking forward to it. And before we get into it, guys, if you enjoy the episode, give us a like, follow, share, and subscribe on our social media channels, Facebook and YouTube, and also go and download our podcast, available every single week. So, Mr. Kelly, if you'd like to, go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about Mr. Braden Fiske. Sir, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Absolutely. Well, before I begin, I just want to offer my personal condolences to the O.J. Simpson family. We lost one of the greatest players who've ever stepped foot onto a football field. With O.J. Simpson passing away from cancer. And so I just want to offer up my condolences from FirstRoundMock.com. And just the Juice. The Juice will always be remembered as being one of the greatest running backs in NFL history.
Yes, sir. Like I said, a very storied life, and no doubt made a tremendous impact on the gridiron. So condolences to him and his family during this very tough time. But Mr. Kelly, let's get back to business, sir. Let's talk about Braden Fiske. What do you like about the big guy coming out of Florida State?
Oh, there's a lot to like about number 55 on your screen right there. He's 6'5", 297 pounds. And, this is a guy that's a little bit more unique because there's not a lot of background film on him prior to the 2023 season where he played, of course, in Western Michigan. But now in 2023, I looked and studied him against Duke, LSU, Clemson, Florida, and Louisville at FirstRoundMock.com. Game film trumps everything. And, I'm excited. As of today, hot off the press, I have him mocked to the Detroit Lions at pick number 29 in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. If there was ever a guy grown in a lab for the Detroit Lions in Dan Campbell, this is the guy. You talk about someone who plays the game like he likes to bite off kneecaps. Look no further than number 55 on your screen, Braden Fiske out of FSU. All gas and no brakes is how he plays the game. This is how I would describe Fiske if I was sitting in a pre-draft scouting meeting with an NFL team and my name was called upon to talk about him. And the thing I really like here about Fiske is, listen, as we move toward the NFL draft, back when I worked at the Jets in the pro scouting department, my boss for the first 2 years, Scott Pioli, Bill Parcells' son-in-law, had a grading system with either an arrow going up for a player who was ascending, going sideways for a player who stayed the same, and of course an arrow going down for a player who looked a little bit worse on game film and was descending in terms of his performance. You always want to see the arrow going up as we move towards the draft on these guys. You want to see guys with an upward trajectory, and that is exactly what Fiske has heading into this process. If you don't believe me, go back and watch the Louisville game, the ACC championship game on December 2nd, when he turned in his finest performance, 9 tackles in that game, 3 sacks, including 2 critical fourth down sacks towards the end of that game to seal that victory against Louisville, 16-6, I believe. He was all over the place, and he was basically unblockable. He was unstoppable in that game. He just took over. So he's heading in the right direction in this process. After he transferred in FSU, you kind of saw it on the film. He got better and better. And of course, he just reached a crescendo in that ACC championship game against against Louisville that I talked about. My nickname for Fiske, the Tasmanian Devil, affectionately nicknamed after the cartoons I watched growing up. I'm dating myself, but oh well. This guy, he played in the FSU defensive line rotation, averaging 36 snaps a game last season. I think it was 10 games in. They flashed that stat up to 36 snaps per game. But just a few describing words. Again, if I was sitting in a pre-draft meeting with a team, tenacious, relentless, high motor, bloodthirsty, passion, energy, focused, want. This is something I want to touch on. Okay, people, there's a lot of scouting jargon that goes around out there in NFL circles and in NFL media circles. And to me, the number one most important characteristic of an NFL prospect or an NFL player for that matter, if you're looking at free agents, but definitely when pertaining to the draft, is the element of want. It's the thing that separates the players on the field, because everyone's big and fast in the NFL. And you want to find the guys who have the want, who show it on film, the guys who, play the game, like when I was with the Jets, one of the most important critical factors of scouting, as Bill Parcells called him, was, is football important to him? I have translated that and boiled it down to want. And that is the number one most important characteristic. And it's the thing that moves the meter. It's the thing of influence for players around the prospect. Because if you got a guy like Braden Fiske, who's all gas and no brakes, other guys aren't going to want to backhand a paycheck. Other guys aren't going to want to take plays off. And that's what Fiske brings to the defensive side of the ball, is that want. And that's the thing I love most about him. This guy brings it. According to Pro Football Focus, he participated in 2023 in 263 pass rush snaps, had 6 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, 19 hurries, and a 14.4% win rate, as far as pass rushing is concerned. So this guy is definitely a difference maker. He's definitely someone that draws a lot of attention, but he's not just one of these one-trick ponies that just is a pass rusher. No, Fiske is a complete defensive tackle, a 3-down defensive tackle, as we call him in scouting circles. He's a force to be reckoned with versus the run. 43 tackles produced in 2023, 17 solo, 26 assists. He's practically unblockable versus a run. You think it's a treat watching Fiske, and it is. As a pass rusher, boy, oh boy, is this guy something else, a sight to behold, playing against the run. This guy is already built. If you see him there on your screen, he's built like a stack. Like if you take bricks, right? You take bricks and stack them up. That's what this guy's body mass is built like, is just a stack of bricks to begin with. And when he's playing against the run, this is where he exercises that awesome raw brute power that he has, and he unleashes that inner beast inside of him, that inner Tasmanian devil, for any running backs who dare to try to navigate and negotiate through the gaps where he resides on the defensive line. As far as bringing this all down underneath the NFL draft microscope, coming from 30,000 feet down to a much more microscopic view of the player in game film, let me kind of reveal here what I have in my notes from watching him and studying him, and really taking a look and extracting the tendencies, the patterns, and the traits that Braden Fiske showed on film. First, we'll go through the positives. This guy is an alpha male personality with equally distributed power and body mass. You can see there from head to toe, this guy is very well built. He is, as I mentioned, a 3-down defensive tackle, a complete player. He's physical. He hustles. He brings a very real presence to the defensive side of the ball. He's got good straight line speed. He's a guy that can get into the pocket. He's got this raw, as I mentioned, brute weight room power and strength that he has. As far as pass rush moves are concerned, he showed a bull rush, a quick swim move, a very quick swim move. I want to emphasize that. Take a highlighter, yellow highlighter, and highlight that. And also, he's very very effective running what I call X stunts, which are when two players cross paths and cross each other's faces when the ball is snapped to try to confuse and disrupt blocking schemes when they kind of trade positions from inside out and outside in. He definitely is good at doing that. This guy has a very quick close into the pocket, which is unusual for a guy this size, which is rare, which is what you're looking for as far as first-round talent. You're looking for those rare characteristics, dominant, elite, game-changing characteristics, and he does have a quick close to the quarterback in the pocket. Decent body flexibility, also somewhat rare for a guy who's built like a stack of bricks. He can adjust in the pocket pretty decently. He does draw his fair share of double teams because of how tenacious, relentless, and high motor he plays, which of course is a benefit because it does free up other defensive players when he's drawing this much attention, which is another side benefit to drafting a Braden Fiske. He's a street fighter against the run, has strong arms, and he's somebody who will not only just play in the box per se against the run, but he will also hunt and chase outside and chase down players. This guy plays from, snap the whistle every single time he's on a football field, and he does what he can to get into the picture and into the run stop. Now, the negatives, right? There are no tens. As I learned from Tony Rosano's Secrets of NFL Scout, the book I learned how to self-taught myself how to do this. There's always negatives to every prospect. What are they with Fiske? Okay, let's take a look. This guy, first of all, is a rotational player. I really would like to have seen him play on a more full-time basis with FSU's defensive line. I know how they do things down there. They want to keep him fresh and keep him rotating in and out of the game to try to have that element of, always be able to bring in the defensive line. But he's a rotational player in college, which I'm sure will change as he grows into the NFL position. Now, keep in mind, defensive tackle is one, in my experience, over the last three drafts from 2021, 2022, 2023, now rolling into 2024 NFL draft. Defensive tackle has proven, with the exception of like a Jalen Carter with the Philadelphia Eagles, it's proven really to be a tougher position to grow into, kind of going across that bridge from college to the NFL. So this is something he will be growing into this position inside. Now, he's not naturally explosive at the point of attack. That's something I want to illustrate. He's not one of these guys that just has that quick twitchiness in his hips. He's a guy that just has that incredible, awesome brute powers I've mentioned several times. So he's not naturally explosive at the point of attack. Somewhat vanilla as a pass rusher, too, to our listeners. He's a guy that, I mentioned those three pass rush kind of moves he has. Mostly he's a bull rusher, and he mostly relies on that quick swim move. Outside of that, he's pretty unimaginative and vanilla as a pass rusher. As far as a scouting report's concerned, as far as what opposing offenses will be looking at in game planning preparations, and also he has some inconsistency shedding blocks. When it comes to the run game, he's got those strong arms. He's able to block out and press out, like a bench press with weights. He's able to do that sometimes, but not all the time. And that's something I want to see him as he develops and grows into a starting position, a defensive tackle in the National Football League. I want to see him become even better at locking out and creating the separation, coming off that separation to make plays in his gaps. Finally, I'll conclude, Mr. Landers, before I turn it over to you. By far and away, Braden Fiske is one of my very favorite players in the 2024 NFL draft. This is a guy that fits into where the league is trending. Where's the league trending? Okay, in 2023, I know I've mentioned this in previous shows, but I think it's important to keep repetitively mentioning this. 32 out of 32 NFL teams pass the ball more than 50% of the time, according to TeamRankings.com. And that means, what does that mean? Okay, bottom line. Bill Belichick always said we're in a bottom line business. Bottom line is we are in a pass-happy NFL. It's 7 of those teams, pass the ball more than 60% of the time, including the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. This is a pass-happy league that's about two things: passing the ball and stopping the pass. Two things, okay? So from a defensive standpoint, we want to find guys who are going to blow up and disrupt the pocket. And who you're looking at there on your screen, number 55 for Florida State, is one of those guys who causes that kind of disruption. He's somebody that draws a lot of attention and someone that makes a lot of noise. Now, when I talk about the Detroit Lions, before I turn it over to you, Mr. Landers, I can't even imagine. It excites me. Like I remember being a little kid on Christmas morning, getting excited to come out of my bedroom and see what was there. And I can't even imagine. It gets exciting to me to think of a Braden Fiske playing in that rotation with the Detroit Lions next to an Aiden Hutchinson. These two guys are cut from the same cloth. These two guys are all motor, no brakes. These guys are tenacious, relentless pass rushers. And what I look for in the first round is I look for the player that will best move the meter for the team I'm talking about. And a Braden Fiske is that guy, specially built and made for the Detroit Lions, that can help them perhaps take the next step in their journey. Your thoughts, Mr. Landers, on Braden Fiske, there, number 55 on our screen. What do you think of him?
Yes, sir, Mr. Kelly. Well said, as always. When I think of Braden Fiske, you brought up a good point. It's like a controlled frenzy in a way, just with the amount of sheer athleticism he possesses on pretty much every single down, to just the tenacity he has at getting to the ball carrier, getting to the quarterback. I mean, there is a reason why he did so well at Western Michigan to beat Western Missouri to go over to Florida State. That's why he did so good at Western Michigan, and why Florida State said, we have to scoop this guy up to get some work done in the ACC. And obviously, we saw that Florida State had a very solid season this past 2023 year, almost made it to the college football playoff top four teams. Just outside of that, unfortunately, but still finished the season undefeated. As you mentioned, also won the ACC championship, and that's due to a solid offense, no doubt about it. But on the defensive side, he was an anchor. He was unstoppable at times, it seemed. And as you mentioned, they do like to rotate their players a good bit, more so than a lot of teams, and keep their guys fresh. But that's, I think, where he shines. And where I think he could get in trouble in the NFL is if you get teams that go on those very long drives. I don't know if he's going to be able to sustain the amount of just tenacity and just power that he has. That's a little bit worrisome to me, but overall, my thoughts on Braden Fiske, when I look at him, what I like about him is he is just straight up a strong athlete. I mean, you see he's got those tree trunk legs, he's got those built arms, he's got really good upper body and lower body strength. Physical is how I would describe him. Just a physical, old school, rugged, knock the ball down your teeth type of player like you used to see back in the day. This guy has very solid pass rushing moves. He's able to get to the quarterback. That's why we saw him get 43 tackles this past year, 9 tackles for loss, 6 sacks at the quarterback. He has just a nose for getting to the quarterback and for getting guys taken down to the ground each and every single snap. For the most part, you see how well he is, and that's due to his explosiveness, DK. His explosiveness is off the charts. I mean, for a guy coming in at his size, coming in, his 6'4", 292, he doesn't play like that nearly at all, with the way that he's able to just turn on a dime like that and get things rolling, get his feet moving. That's what I like about Braden Fiske, just that really good quickness he possesses for such a large athlete that has a good motor as well, great strength, tremendous power, and has a pretty solid bag when it comes to getting to the passer and getting to the quarterback, also tackling some running backs in the backfield. My final thoughts on Braden Fiske: I think this guy is an electric defender. I think that he is someone that if you get him on your team, he is someone who can come up in those big clutch moments and help you seal a game and get that crucial win you need in the final weeks of the season. Because this guy possesses raw power, raw speed, that if you fine-tune that in the NFL, like we see a lot of teams do, that he could be a contributing factor to a potential Super Bowl winning team. I see big things in the future for Braden Fiske. Your final thoughts on this tremendous player coming out of Florida State, Mr. Daniel Kelly.
Absolutely, Mr. Landers. Well said. I really like everything you talked about there. The old school element, obviously, is the attraction to a guy like a Dan Campbell, where I have him mocked. But wherever he ends up, if it's not the Lions, I think you're right. I think he does bring that element to a defensive line. And also, too, I want to touch on something you talked about, is that he kind of just seemed to be one of those players that kind of came on strong at the end. He seemed to, at that FSU game against Louisville, he seemed to like feed off the energy of the crowd. And when he had those 3 sacks, the 2 monster sacks on the 4th downs to close out the game against Louisville, I mean, it seemed just like he just was energized, like was putting gas in a gas tank of, it was just like he just became like he just even went into like super like beast mode or something. It's like it's like a video game where he just went into it. So you're right. As we move in towards playoff season, where you got a big home game, we got something going on. As we need a big play here. It's 3rd and 12. I think this is exactly the type of guy that an opposing offense does not want to see, because it seems like he's just energized by those situations, which makes him really, really exciting. Listen, a lot of guys are built big and strong and fast and all these things. The draft is full of them. But I think finally I'll conclude on this. The game is won or lost, as we say in scouting, from the neck up. And the things that Mr. Landers and I are talking about here today is from the neck up here, right? He's got everything you want from the neck down. From the neck up is where it all is centralized. And with this guy, the want, the desire, the tenacity, this guy wants to make plays. The game of football is very important to him. And these are the type of guys that are special. These are the type of guys that move the meter. These are the kind of guys you want to draft in the first round of the 2024 NFL draft.
Yes, sir, Mr. Kelly. Well said, as always. I appreciate your input talking about Braden Fiske, defensive tackle coming out of Florida State.
Absolutely.
Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, give us a like, follow, share, and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. Also, go download our podcast, available every single week, audio versions of all of our shows. And also, mark your calendars, because Thursday, April 25th, live here on the channel, starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be doing a live NFL Draft reaction show. Looking forward to chopping it up with all the crew here at 100 Yards Football, as well as you, our fans. You can get our live reaction to see who's going to go number 1, who's going to fall, and who will your team select. So tune us in. Check us out then on April 25th here in just a couple of weeks. And we will talk to you guys again